Jordan Spieth just changed everything. Not with a major, not with a hot streak, with a single sentence at a press conference last week that the entire PGA Tour locker room has been afraid to say out loud for 4 years. The three-time major champion, the former world number one, the man who sat in the room while the LIV war was being fought. He stepped up to the microphone and asked the one question that throws the entire return of the Rebels negotiation into chaos. 8 months from now, the PGA Tour has to decide what happens to the players who walked out. Spieth just made sure nobody in that room can pretend the answer is simple. What did he actually say? Stick around. This is the moment that rewrote the endgame. April 30, 2026, the Cadillac Championship at Trump National Doral in Miami. Spieth had just shot a 7-under 65 in the opening round, his best opening round in months, climbing to third on the leaderboard and looking, briefly, like the player who won 3 majors before his 24th birthday. The follow-up was less encouraging. He played the final 54 holes in even par and finished tied 18th, 12 shots behind winner Cameron Young. But the reporters who showed up to that Thursday press conference were not there to ask about Spieth's iron play. They were there to ask about something much bigger. Earlier that same week, Saudi Arabia's public investment fund had officially confirmed it would withdraw funding from LIV Golf at the end of the 2026 season. $5 billion gone. PF chairman Yasir Al-Rumayyan had stepped down from his role as chairman of the LIV board. The 4-year experiment was officially in its endgame, and every PGA Tour player suddenly had to answer the same uncomfortable question. What do you do about the guys who left? Spieth was careful. He has always been careful. He acknowledged the precedent that had already been set. I know olive branches were given out a couple months ago. Brooks took them up on it, so I'm not sure what would now change. That was the reference to the returning member program, the narrow path the PGA Tour created in January for 4 eligible players. Brooks Koepka walked through it. Jon Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, and Cameron Smith all declined before the February deadline. The cost for Koepka was severe: $5 million in charitable donations, no access to PGA Tour player equity for 5 years, which insiders estimated would cost him between $50 and $85 million. No FedEx Cup bonus money for 2026, no automatic entry into signature events. Koepka paid the price. The door closed behind him, and then the Saudis pulled their funding. That is when Spieth said the thing that mattered. If there's a system for Brooks and a system for Patrick Reed, does that stay the same for guys in the same category as those two coming back? Or does it change now? Does it change for guys who sued and dropped their membership? He was not screaming. He was not demanding. He was asking the question every player on tour had been thinking for years, and nobody had been willing to put on the record. Because here is the part of this story that has been buried under headlines about Saudi money and team formats. In August of 2022, 11 LIV players filed an antitrust lawsuit against the PGA Tour. They claimed the tour was illegally preventing them from doing business with a competitor. The named players included Phil Mickelson, Bryson DeChambeau, Ian Poulter, Taylor Gooch, Matt Jones, Hudson Swafford, Peter Wieline, and others. The lawsuit was eventually dismissed in 2023, along with the PGA Tour's countersuit. But the act of suing the institution that built them is the part of this story that has not faded with time. It is the wound that has never closed. Spieth's question was a clean separation of 2 different categories of returning player. There is the player who simply left for the money. That is Brooks Koepka. That is Patrick Reed. The tour has established a process for handling them. And then there is the player who left for the money and filed a federal lawsuit attempting to legally dismantle the structure of the PGA Tour. That is Bryson DeChambeau. That is Phil Mickelson. That is, depending on how you count, anywhere from 6 to 11 of the most talented players in the world. Spieth was asking, on behalf of every player who stayed, whether the consequences for those 2 categories of player should really be the same. The implication of his question was clear without him ever having to say it out loud. He did not think they should be. Brian Harman, the 2023 Open champion, was asked the same question that day and answered it more directly than Spieth did. I think there should be something. I'm not smart enough to tell you what that is. That's other people's jobs. Then he explained why. I think that would help with the bad blood and the resentment. There's still some sentiment out here, especially with all the lawsuit stuff. That stuff is going to be tough to get past. And then Harman delivered the line that may end up defining this entire saga. We play with all those guys in the majors, so yeah, I think there should be a path back. But a path back is not the same as a welcome. That sentence is the entire current state of professional golf in one breath. The door is not slammed shut, But it is not open either. It is cracked, on conditions, and the people setting those conditions have very long memories. Lucas Glover, the recently elected chairman of the Player Advisory Council and an incoming member of the PGA Tour Policy Board, was even more direct. Human beings are human beings. I will never begrudge anybody for making a decision for the betterment of their career, their life, whatever that may be. But do I think they should abide by the pathways back and pay the same penalties that the previous people have paid? Absolutely. Not maybe, not we will see, absolutely. That is about as clear as professional golf gets in public. And on the question of the lawsuit specifically, Glover would only say the tour would be working diligently to figure all that out, which in the real world means the lawyers are already in the room. This is where Spieth's voice carries more weight than anyone else's. He has been in that room. From May of 2023 to December of 2024, Spieth served on the PGA Tour Policy Board after Rory McIlroy stepped down. He was there during the framework agreement chaos. He was there during the Saudi negotiations. He was there during the conversations about how the tour would respond if and when LIV players asked to come back. When he says at his press conference now that he is kind of glad I'm not in that room, and I trust the guys that are in that room to make the right decision, he is not speaking as an outsider with opinions. He is speaking as a man who knows exactly what those conversations look like and who has stepped back to let the next group of player directors handle them. His question about the lawsuit is not idle, it is informed. The list of players whose careers are now being weighed in that room is staggering. Jon Rahm reportedly signed a $300 million deal to join LIV in late 2023. He turned down the PGA Tour's return offer in February. He has refused to settle his fines with the DP World Tour, which has left him ineligible for the European Ryder Cup team in 2027. Bryson DeChambeau was reportedly seeking up to $500 million to re-sign with LIV. Now, with the Saudi money gone, he has admitted publicly that he is not sure how much he will be welcomed back. He was also one of the named plaintiffs in the antitrust lawsuit. Cameron Smith owns a stake in his Ripper GC franchise, which makes any return legally tangled in ways the public has not yet seen calculated. Phil Mickelson, the first domino to fall, missed the cutoff for the returning member program by less than 1 year, and the PGA Tour has signaled the door may not open again for him. Six-time major champion, potentially locked out of the PGA Tour forever. And then there is the subplot that gives this entire moment its narrative weight. Jordan Spieth, asking the toughest question about the LIV players, is also chasing history. He needs the PGA Championship to complete the career Grand Slam. Only 6 men in the history of golf have done it. Gene Sarazen, Ben Hogan, Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy. Spieth would be the 7th. He arrived at Arena the week after his Cadillac Championship press conference and shot rounds of 75 and 75, missing the cut. The Grand Slam will have to wait at least another year. But the symbolic weight of his attempt did not. Because if you take the long view of this entire saga, the player who asked the hardest question about the players who sued is also the player chasing the kind of historical achievement that LIV Golf was never designed to produce: major championships. Legacy. The exact things Tiger Woods cited when he turned down his own LIV offer. Spieth is chasing the version of greatness the tour believes it was defending the whole time. What happens next is now genuinely unclear. The Saudi money is gone after this season. LIV Golf will either find new funding or it will not. The players who left will either come back on terms acceptable to the PGA Tour, or they will become something closer to permanently exiled. And the people making those decisions in that policy boardroom now have a question on the record they cannot pretend was not asked. Brooks Koepka's path back is one thing, Patrick Reed's path back is another. But the path back for the players who sued the institution they are now asking to rejoin is a different question entirely. Jordan Spieth made sure of that. If this one landed for you, drop a like before you scroll away. It is the single biggest thing that tells YouTube to push these stories to other golf fans who actually care about the long view of this saga. Subscribe if you want more of these. There are more coming.